Hi, everybody. This is Steve Hogger, the pastor of Hickory Hill Baptist Church. And we are doing Wednesday in the Word, and we are in Matthew chapter 7, in verses 21 through 23. I'm just going to read it, and we'll just kind of walk through it, kind of talk about it, and hopefully it'll apply to your life. So, Matthew chapter 7, verse 21 through 23. Jesus says, "Not everyone who says to me, 'Lord, Lord,' will enter the kingdom of heaven, but only those who do the will of my Father who is in heaven. Many will say to me on that day, 'Lord, Lord, did we not prophesy in your name, and in your name drive out demons, and perform many miracles?' Then I will tell them plainly, 'I never knew you. Away from me, you evildoers.'" Now, the very first thing Jesus says, he says, not everyone. He said, not everyone is going to make it into the kingdom of heaven. We've already looked at the wide road and the narrow road. If you remember that a couple of verses earlier, a lot of people travel down the wide road. Few travel down the narrow road. And the narrow road leads to life. The wide road leads to destruction. So it's very simple. We understand not everyone will make it. And then he says, he uses the word Lord. Not everyone who says to me, 'Lord, Lord.'" Now, the word Lord is just a friendly saying like Mr. and Mrs., just a common thing. But when you put Lord, Lord, it gets a little more serious. And in other words, they knew who Jesus was. They knew what he stood for. They knew that he was the Lord and Savior. These people who say, "Lord, Lord," they knew who he was. And he goes, not everyone will get into heaven. Only those who do the will of my Father. So what is the will of my Father? Those who obey. Just because you know doesn't mean that just because you know Jesus doesn't mean that you get a ticket into there. You have to obey and to follow him. Let me just kind of illustrate this for a second. This year turkey hunting, I didn't get a turkey. I know a lot about turkey hunting. I've hunted turkey for a lot of years. Very seldom I get it. I'm not that good. I hunted hard. I hunted, I don't know how many days. There's 3 weeks. I hunted majority of those 3 weeks. Didn't get one. It's just one of those things. But I love being out there. Now, you would not want me as a guide. I can tell you a lot about turkey hunting. I can tell you how to and everything, but you don't want me as a guide. You want someone that tags out every year, that gets his tag on turkeys every year. I have a friend, a pastor friend in Kentucky. I swear he does that every year. He tags out. First day or two, he gets a turkey. Next week, he gets a turkey. He tags out. In fact, the only time I have ever tagged out in hunting turkeys is when I went to go see him. He took me turkey hunting, and I tagged out that season in Kentucky. Never have before, because he not only knows about turkey hunting, he does it, and he is successful at it. So what I'm trying to say is the difference between me and him is I can tell you a lot about it, but he can show you. He shows it how he lives. He gets a tag. He gets his tag filled every year. So someone who says, "Lord, Lord," calling Jesus Lord, knows who he is, but there's a vast difference than those who obey and those who follow him. Let me give you a couple of verses. John 8:31. To the Jews who had believed, Jesus said, "If you hold to my teaching, you really are my disciples." So what Jesus says, he says, guys, if you hold to my teaching, if you obey my teaching, if you follow my teaching, that illustrates that you are my disciples. And then in Hebrews chapter 5, verse 9, it says, "And once made perfect, he became the source of eternal salvation for all who obey him." All who obey him got eternal salvation with what it says in Hebrews. So just because you know him doesn't mean you get the ticket. Or just because you know about him doesn't mean you get that ticket into heaven. You have to follow him. And this will be a little clear as we continue through. All right, notice they call on Jesus, Lord, Lord. They know who he is. And then next thing is, they said, we did stuff. He said, many will say to me on that day. And on that day is the judgment day. It is the second coming, the great white throne judgment. On that day, they will say, Lord, Lord, did we not do things for you? Did we not prophesy in your name? Did we not drive out demons? Did we not do miracles? Did we not do all those things for you or because of your name? Now, Jesus said, even if you do those things, he says, you never knew me. Now, there's three ways to explain this. They did these things and they didn't know Jesus Christ, or they didn't obey him or didn't follow him. One is God let them do it. God gave them permission. In the book, I think it's Book of Numbers, God uses a donkey, Balaam's donkey, and speaks through a donkey and gets his attention. In the book of Acts, God uses a handkerchief and people got healed. So God can use different things. And maybe just God used these people to help these other people out. The devil or Satan's power enabled them to be able to do that. Or they could have lied. But anyway, Jesus didn't call their bluff. He didn't say, did you really? He just let them go on. But they said, Lord, Lord, did we not do these things for you? In verse 23 is the key. Then I will tell them plainly, I never knew you. Away from me, you evildoers. Then Jesus says, we'll tell them, I never knew you. They knew about him. They knew his title. They knew that he was Lord and Savior. But Jesus said, I never knew you. That word know is kind of an intimate word. You could say it's kind of the word you get to know in marriage. Very intimacy, know. Jesus says, I do not know you. Now, Jesus knew them. Jesus is God. He knew about them. But he said, I never knew you because you never really followed me. I have people in my church that they know about Jesus. They say, Lord, Lord. But sometimes you look at their actions and looks how they live. You kind of scratches your head and you kind of say, I don't know. So he says, away from me, you evildoers. Now, the word evildoers, what that means is they practice evil. They continue in their evil. They practice sin. They are disobedience. Because of your disobedience, you illustrate that you really do not know Jesus. People will confess they follow Jesus, but they do not. Do they live it up by their life? We just got through last week. If you've been following these videos, a good tree bears good fruit. A bad tree bears what? Bad fruit. If you're following Jesus Christ and say, I follow him, and you're living it out and being obedient, you will produce good fruit. It's very simple. If you continue in your evil practices, continue being disobedient, it illustrates that you do not know him. Guys, God is light, and in him you have fellowship. And as you walk in the light as he is in the light, you have fellowship with him, and you will produce fruits. So, what I want you to get out of this, well, is this. I grew up, and my first job I got, it wasn't because I knew anything. I became a sacker at a grocery store. It's not because I knew anything. It's because my brother worked there, and he worked for the company, and worked for the company for several years, and was like a milk manager. And he got me a job because of I knew him and he knew me, so I got a job. It wasn't because of what I did. That kind of disturbed me a little bit. But later in life, I got jobs because of what I did, what I could do, not because of who I knew. But here is what I want you to understand. It is both. It is who you know, and it is what you do because you know that person. You don't get into heaven because of your good works. You get into heaven because you're obedient to your Lord and Savior. You're following Jesus Christ. Just because you say, hey, I know Jesus, Lord, Lord, that doesn't get you in a ticket. You illustrate that you are a son of God or a daughter of God by what you do. Jesus is very simple, very, very plain. He said, hey, on that day, many people will say, Lord, Lord, but I never knew them because they never followed up their confession about me by how they lived. I hope you got something. I kind of rambled a little bit. I'm sorry about that, but hope you have a great week. We'll talk to you later.